Week 7, day 2. Today we're going to continue talking about human resource management. Look, like this cartoon, we're going over job skills with an interview. Why did you leave your last job? And the interview response is, the company relocated and didn't tell me where. So therefore, I would not hire that interview with a response like that. We're going to move on to the next slide, and moving on to the next slide, we will be covering how to select employees. Use job application forms. Use that as a screening instrument. By using the application from an employer can collect enough information to determine whether a prospect is qualified and provide a basis for further evaluation. Interview. An interview permits the employer to get some idea of the applicant's appearance, job knowledge, intelligence, and personality. Now, a little disclaimer. Then we're going to pick up right here. When they say as far as a personality and appearance, that's great. But it was some articles been coming out that now with the new generation in the job field, they might have mohawks, they might have colored hair, but don't let their appearance dictate you from not hiring them, because they're the best fit. Their responses is the best responses out of the candidates. Go stay or hire them, because guess what? Just because they might dress a certain way does not mean that they cannot get the job done. All right. Although the interview can be a useful step, it should not be the only step. Even when conducting with care, an interview can lead to false impressions. Research has shown that the typical job interview is a limited value in predicting success on the job. To increase the value of the interview, process behavior interviews has been developed to help with determining the success of an applicant on the job. Behavior interviews is an approach that assesses the suitability of a job candidates based on how they would respond to hypothetical situations. So what they're saying by behavioral interviews, like for instance, you have the STAR. You have what they ask. You have the STAR interview, which is situation, task, action, and result. So if I'm interviewing, sometimes I might ask, give me a situation where you have to change, and use your resources, have to change resources in the middle of a project. Give me the situation, give me the task, give me the action and the result. Or if you have to change gears, basically, in the middle of a project. That way, now you get to see the person's mindset. Can they answer it? Okay, some people stumble over that, and some people do not. You know, sometimes they're not going to just ask, give me your 3 strengths, give me your 3 weaknesses. They're not going to ask those type of questions. They want to actually see your knowledge skills. They want to test your knowledge and skills in the same question. All right, we're going to move on to the next. Selecting employees continue. Here's an example of a behavior interview. Give me a specific example of a time when you used good judgment and logic when solving a problem. All right. Tell me about a time when you set a goal and you were able to achieve it. Can you recall a time when you had to conform to a company policy which you did not agree? How did you handle the situation? How do you typically deal with workplace conflict? Describe an experience that requires you to make such an adjustment. Give me an example of a time when your integrity was tested and yet prevailed in a workplace situation. You know, some of these questions are just like the back of my mind, because I can just remember, like it was just yesterday, me getting asked some of these same questions. Like this, tell me about a time when you set a goal and you were able to achieve it. Right now, somebody was to ask me that, you know, I wanted to pass my PT test in basic training. You know, I had to get a 160, 66, or 180. That's all I needed to pass. But I said my goal was a little bit higher. I wanted to get a 210. So I got that goal. Simple as that. That's the situation. I set the task. I gave an action. As a result, my action was I trained. I did more push-ups, more sit-ups at nighttime, and my runs, I ran harder. I ran harder than what's required. I started volunteer being a road guard. So therefore, I run and catch up. As a result, I achieved my goals, and it felt good. Boom. That's how it simple. See, tell me by the time we set a goal, you already achieved it. And you just role playing basically. You giving accounts of your past. Can you recall a time when you had to conform to a company policy which you did not agree? How did you handle that situation? Go back to military. Military goes over the rest of all of this. You know, it was company policy that I had to deploy. I didn't want to deploy it, but I knew about the ramifications if I did not deploy it. I could possibly lose my benefits, get on discharge. I don't want that. So as a result, how I handled the situation, I said goodbye to my girlfriend, said goodbye to my family, and I went overseas and served my country. How do you typically deal with workplace conflict? Describe an experience that required you to make such an adjustment. I was working, I remember this one situation, I had this one upper manager that was over me, who would constantly ask me for my opinions, and then also take credit for my opinions. And as a result, will come, and now when I see my opinions being instrumental, will come to tell me, hey Ricky, we're now going to start making 30 phone calls in the morning, and then also doing 30 phone calls in the afternoon. That's going to be called our power hour. And I'm saying to myself while she's telling me this, wow, I told you I was already doing a power hour. I gave you that idea. I'm saying that mentally. So what I started doing, instead of what I did, I just dumbed down. I just managed up instead of down. I just said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. Well, let's do it. Therefore, to create conflict. Give an example of a time when your integrity was tested and yet prevailed in a workplace situation. I'm going to say it again. Give me an example of a time when your integrity was tested and yet prevailed in a workplace situation. Give me an example of a time when your integrity was tested and yet prevailed in a workplace situation. Do anybody have a situation? Because I have one.
Not fraternizing with soldiers.
Exactly, especially when you deploy.
And I almost did, and I was in Korea, and you know.
You know what? Kudos to you. That's great. I don't know if you all heard that, but we had somebody who was tested possibly fraternization, not fraternization, while he was deployed in Korea. He said he was tested, but he prevailed. That is integrity. He upheld one of those 7 Army core values, which one of them is what? Integrity. He upheld that, no fraternization. I don't even need to give my example. That's a great one. We're going to move forward. Selecting employees, continue. Time spent in interviews can save the company time and money in the long run. Firing an employee can be quite difficult and expensive. You know that. A dismissed employee may bring a suit even when the employee had justifiable reason for dismissal. Remember, employee interviewing is actually a two-way process. In order for the applicant to make an informed decision, she or he needs a clear idea of what the job entails and an opportunity to ask questions. That's why you think at the end of the interview, you all can ask questions. Do you have any questions of me? Therefore, if you have any looming questions, now's the time to ask those questions. A lot of times, the person getting interviewed don't ask really harsh questions because they want the job there and they want to be there, so they need a job. So therefore, they just wait. But that's like a little side note. We're going to keep up to move up back up here. Time spent in interviews. Some people, you know, when I have conducted interviews, it's based off the personal, you know, I get a vibe off the person. After I ask them 1 or 2 questions, if they're not in tune, it's gonna be a very short interview. Because you're not in tune, you're there, but this is not the right fit for whatever job you interview with me for. If you're in tune, we're gonna go more in depth, we're gonna flow. You know, communication is pretty much the key when you're interviewing. Can I work with this person? Could I see myself working with this person? You know, if we can't communicate during the interview, then therefore, how can we communicate on the job? So it can range from 5 minutes. I don't did 5-minute interviews. I don't did 45 minutes to an hour. Personally, the longest interview I was in was 2 hours. 2 hours and I didn't yawn. It was long, but it was a lot of those STAR questions, behavioral type interviews, and they had to do a lot of writing. So that's what took a long time as well, because they had to write the answers down as I gave it to them. So you know what that means. Can you repeat that? Can you repeat your answer again? Hoping I ain't messed it up. Sometimes some of it's coming fresh off my mind. But you gotta be, that's why you gotta be truthful when you're doing it. And firing an employee can be quite difficult and expensive. See, the reason why firing an employee can be quite difficult because of what grinds. That's one of the great things about Texas is this. It's an at-will state. I no longer need your services. It's simple as that. It's an at-will state. Now, if you're not in an at-will state, you do need to have a justification on why you're letting this person go. It could be due to the insurance. Some larger companies got to carry employees some insurance. So you can say, hey, money's tight. We're not making what we're making. But you definitely want to have a just for reason. Why? So hopefully you don't get sued. Because a dismissed employee may bring a suit. Even an employee had just for reason for dismissal. Because they're upset. Because these people have livelihoods. You gotta understand, when a person applies for an application with your job, that person has bills and they have a family too that they're counting on this job. So when you take that job from them, for whatever reason it is, they might want to fight for that job. They might go to equal employment opportunity. They might get a lawyer and get a suit. I mean, just yesterday I was on Yahoo, and it was a case with Lehigh, a case where a student was a graduate student at Lehigh University. The student received a C, and since the student received the C, was kicked out of that master's program. She later received a master's somewhere else, but now she cannot be a counselor because she got that C. It wasn't in the master, and she got kicked out of the program. So she says she did the math. She said, I am going to lose $1.2 million over my career because of this C plus that I got. A C plus. It wasn't just a C, but it was a C plus. So as a result, she's suing the university for $1.2 million. No lie. Checking references and backgrounds. Careful checking with former employers, school authorities, and other references can help an employer avoid hiring mistakes. If you fail to check your applicant's background, your decision might be considered a negligent hiring decision, which can lead to lawsuits. And most of all, and for applicants, do not lie. Do not lie. If you got to charge, you got to charge. Because when the applicant does when the employer does a background check, you know what's going to happen? They're going to let you go. Because why? You lied. You can't be trustworthy. You should have informed me, because now the employer possibly have made a decision based on your lies. So therefore, you got to go. Because of the potential for lawsuits, third parties are often reluctant to divulge negative information. And this limits the practical usefulness of reference checking. However, gathering information online about an applicant's financial, criminal, and employment history has never been easier. You can go to some sites. Not going to give those sites out right today, like I did yesterday. I gave sites out. As a result, we got people buying skills, and I ain't getting no skills, but it's all right. So I'm not going to give the websites out that you can go to do background checks, but it is easier. $9, $9.99. Some you can even go back, the further you go back, the higher the cost is. But guess, you can be done. You want to know somebody financial. Because employers, some people won't hire you if you got bad credit or if you owe people or the judgment is against you. They just look at it like your financial history is too much. I'm going to move on. Testing the applicant. With a little creativity, employers can develop practical tests that are clearly related to the job. And these can provide extremely useful insights for selection decisions. Great tool, great tool. To be useful, tests of any kind must meet the criteria, validity and reliability. So you gotta be valid and you gotta be reliable. For a test to be valid, its results must correspond well with job performance. That way, applicants with the best test scores turn out to be the best employers. In the military, you take an ASVAB. They ask you what's your ASVAB GT score. They figure, hey, the higher you score, the smarter you are, the better soldier you'll be. Not always the case, but that's what they go off of. You get the better jobs too, the higher you score. For a test to be reliable, it must provide consistent results when used at different times or by various individuals. Moving, next slide. Requiring physical examinations. In the military, you gotta have a physical to get in. You do good on the test, but you gotta be physically fit. To be a police officer, you gotta be physically fit. That's why on some jobs, you will see that they say, hey, this job requires bending, lifting and bending of 50 pounds or 50 pounds or heavier, 50 pounds up to 50 pounds equipment. Can you do that? So if I need you to lift some paper, a box of paper, I don't want to hear you shouldn't be able to lift because you said you can do this. You didn't have any limitations. A primary purpose of physical examination is to evaluate the ability of applicants to meet the physical demands of specific jobs. However, care must be taken to avoid discriminating against those who are physically disabled. The Americans with Disabilities Act requires companies with 15 or more employees to make reasonable adaptations to facilitate the employment of such individuals. A part of the physical examination process, the law permits drug screening of applicants. Stay away from drugs. Stay away from drugs. Skills can be taught, but ethics, loyalty, and high standards are inherited qualities that are difficult to pass on a business setting. Therefore, the hiring process must take all of this into account. So when you hire your barbers, do you want your barbers to take drug tests? Do you want your cleaning crew to take drug tests? You have to think like that. Do you want a drug-free zone? Because the worst thing that a person can have is a person coming on that job high. Coming on that job high or intoxicated, and the customer sees the eyes or smells. Case in point, I had a good barber he was a good barber in my eyes until he started smoking marijuana. Until he started smoking, he was lining me up, and I smelled it on his fingers. And you know what? I said, no, I don't want that bacteria, none of that close to my face. So therefore, unsanitary. Never went to him again. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If you hire somebody, okay, so say I have my business and I hire somebody, and I'm hiring employees, and I don't screen for drugs,
Right.
illicit drugs, and then, okay, so hypothetically saying, so I have this carpet cleaning business, and I have 3 workers, and they are in 3 different units, 3 different vans, and they're doing the thing, okay, and I don't drug screen for any of them.
Right.
And they're just working, and any given day, one of them gets in an accident, okay, and then they go and draw blood or whatever at the hospital or whatever. Now, am I held liable, or is my company held liable?
Now,
Can I be sued, or by wherever, let's say?
Now, you might find some, so they had an accident at the job site.
On job.
And as a result, they went to the hospital, got draw blood, blood was drawn as a result, found out that they was intoxicated. So therefore, that is a good question. Now the company, the work site that you own, since you don't own it, you were somebody else's work site cleaning company, they could terminate your contract because because you did not screen them. That's what I was thinking. One, because you didn't screen them, and two, because at the end of the day, they represent your name. They represent your company. And that's what's always good to have LLC too. But so therefore, what you call, that's why what you can institute is this. Institute it in the beginning. And then you can say at random throughout the year we have random drug tests. So that way, by you having that description in their contract, they're known, and also shows that you are going to mile. You are taking the steps and provisions to not hire employees that indulge in using drugs. Now, granted, there are other methods, they can still take supplements and maybe beat the drug test, but at least as you as an employer, you are doing covering your bases. So therefore, that the company, the customer can see that, and they can feel safe and insured with you. And also, when you're bidding on your contracts, you can use that. Say, hey, my employees are drug testing on a random basis. You see it in their contract. You see this? Boom. Good, great question. All right. So, remember, skills can be taught, but ethics, loyalty, and high standards are inherited qualities that are difficult to pass on in a business setting. Therefore, the hiring process must take all of this into account. Be wise, be careful, and go with your gut instincts when it comes to hiring employees, because they're representing you. And remember, you want to have, your question should be geared towards looking for that impact employee. See, can you find you an impact employee during the interview process? Moving to the next slide. When do the training wheels come off? So here it is, we have a person, when do the training wheels come off? They're tired of being trained. They're ready to what? Go into the field. They're ready to what? Be trusted that they can do this work by themselves. So now we're going to be talking about training in the next slide. Training employees. Employee training refers to planned efforts to help workers master the knowledge and skills that they need to perform the duties for the job. Management development is more focused on preparing employees for future roles in business and emphasize on long-term career goals. Training should not be limited to new hires. The performance of existing employees can be often improved through additional training. Continual training often is necessary to update knowledge and skills. Only with such training can employees meet the demands, the changing demands being placed on them. The world is constantly changing. Therefore, it's constantly changing, coming out with new processes. So therefore, the way we learn how to do things now is obsolete sometimes. So always train not only your new employees, but your current employees. So you will always be up to date. Your business will always be up to date with innovation. Just like in the barbering business, when the Beijing came out about years ago, 10 years ago, the blackout. It transformed from cornrows and braids and edge ups and fades. So now people want more designs in their hair. They want more designs. They want the blackout. They want to be crisp. So learn that. Learn it. Train your barbers. Train your employees on it. So therefore they can do it. Now they're coming out with the 3D fades, with the 3D design fades. Why not have somebody in your shops? Why not have maybe one person in your shop that has the capability of do that? So you might have to send this person off to learn that trade, and then bring them back. But guess what? When your industry changes, you want to change with your industry. You don't want to look back. You don't want to be left back and looking at the changes. And now it's time for me to change, because it's a lot of money you just missed because you weren't changing with the trend. Moving to the next slide. Orientation. Taking steps to help the newcomer adjust will minimize her or his uneasiness in the new setting. They do that. Army does this orientation. They're great about this. You get orientation when you move good to a new post. You get orientation when you go to basic training. Shucks, I feel like I was over-orientated by the time I got to my first duty station. Recognizing the new employee's sensitivity at this point. The employer can contribute to a positive outcome through proper orientation. No matter how proper the orientation is, it's always going to be that level of uncomfortableness for a new person in a new area, because why? It is a new area, a new job, so therefore they don't know all the ins and outs. They just read upon all of the ins and outs, and they're ready to get started. They're ready to get into the trenches and figure out what is their purpose, what is their everyday activity going to be on that job. A clearly explanation of performance expectations and the way in which an employee's work will be evaluated should be included in the orientation. The new employee should be encouraged to ask questions, should be taken to provide careful answers. One way to support the orientation process is by providing new hires with an employee handbook. Employee handbook is detrimental. Guess why? You said, hey, I didn't know this was in there. They have behavior issues or policy questions, and you give them the employee handbook, you make them sign a receipt. This is the handbook. These are the rules of the shop. These are the rules of the company. Here you go, sign it, you got it. So when you get ready to let them go, as we talked about earlier, if you let them go because they broke a rule in that employee handbook, when they try to come with a lawsuit, you got on file, guess what? You got on file that they had aware of their rule. Why? Because they had the employee handbook. If they're not smart enough to read the employee handbook, it's not your fault. Like, all you need for them to do is what? Sign. You just need for them to sign the sheet that said they received the employee handbook. And you can even go a step further. And we're talking about creating questions. Create questions on that employee handbook. So you got 2 weeks to turn this back into our HR department. So therefore, now you're forcing them to what? Open that handbook up. You're forcing them to open that handbook up, employee handbook, and answer those questions and get it correctly. And say, hey, you have to pass this. You have to get a 85 or 90% or better in order to, it's necessary in order to remain employable. Because it may sound small, but I don't want anyone to get sued. So therefore, I don't want anyone to get sued. You take the extra steps. Remember, the more detailed you are, the more better and smoother running your business will run. We're going to move to the next slide. Putting training into practice. Only 10 to 40% of the training provided to employees each year is ever actually applied on the job. Wow. They say only 10 to 40% of training provided to employees each year is ever actually applied on the job. So therefore, what they're saying is, hey, they do a lot of training, learn a lot of skills, but they don't get to practice it. So I challenge you all in your profession not to do that. Whatever how you train your personnel in your businesses, let your goal be to turn every employee into an impact player. If you can turn every employee into an impact player, that means they're gonna have the knowledge, the training, and they're gonna have practice on doing the job skills related to your business. If you want to get a better return on training, you must create a workplace environment that encourages people to use their training. If you take what I just said, you're doing that. This can be accomplished by using the following program. Put it on paper. People are more likely to do what they write down. Measure results. Employees will be more likely to put training to use if they know their performance will be assessed. And that is something. So what that's saying is basically, if my training is going to be looked at, it's going to be graded, I'm more likely to put more into it. Too bad when the employee mindset really should be, I'm getting a paycheck. I'm getting a paycheck, so therefore I should put all into it. But that does not happen. That's in a perfect world. People just sometimes want to come to work and get a paycheck and go home. But they want their paycheck. As us being what employers, we always pay what we say we're going to pay, right? Okay? We wish our employers will put in 100%, just like we pay them 100%. Now, if we start, some jobs you might be commission based, which is based off productivity. I guarantee people will have high productivity. Measure, so that's the measure results. Get peers to help. Peer support has the greatest impact on the effective translation of training to the workplace, transition of training to the workplace. And the reason why, Jay, peers help is because why? We have battle buddies. We have battle buddies in the Army. So when your battle buddies down, battle buddies ain't feeling well, the Army brings it to where what? To where that person's battle buddy motivates them to get the job done. And you know, I might be down today, but Jay gets me right. He gets me motivated. Come on, man, we can do this. We in these trenches, we can do this. Jay, don't worry about what's going on. Jay, don't worry about it, man. You know, maybe tomorrow I can tell Jay the same thing. And so you bonding. You bonding to complete the goal. You got a company task at hand, and both of you are using each other as what? You building a bond and friendship to get to that goal, to complete that tasking that your employer, which will be Uncle Sam, has given you. Involve supportive superiors. Management involvement increases the odds that trainees will use what they learn. Then it says also provide access to experts. See, this right here involves supportive superiors. Well, your superiors should be your experts. Sometimes it's not that case. You might feel, sometimes your superiors should be your experts, at least in the beginning stages of a new person training on the job. Then you might end up succeeding your superior if your superior doesn't do any training. Now, it says about what I like about that involves supportive superiors, and also superiors have to be receptive. So we as superiors, we have to be acceptive and we have to be reachable and obtainable to our new trainees. We can't just look down. We have to give them the confidence that they can come and ask us questions. Because sometimes you might get an employee who doesn't feel comfortable asking questions and they try to figure it out on their own. But then we lose time because if they don't do it right, their specific tasking right, then we lose time. We lose time, we lose effort, and that is money. And we're not trying to lose money. We're in these businesses to make money. So therefore, the relationship, the rapport that you have built with these employees is from day one needs to be established. So hey, you got any questions, come to me. And if I come to you, ask you how things are going, to ask you questions, it's not because I'm picking at you. It's just because why? I want us to have a great relationship, and I want if you don't know anything, I want to be the one to tell you what you need to know. All right, we're gonna move to slide 21. Development of managers. You know what? This right here. Sometimes people get promoted, and because of who they know and not what they know. That's what this is saying right here.
Not fair.
Not fair. You know, a lot of people get overlooked in the military. They have, you know, how did this person get? Well, because of who they knew. And therefore now the people who should have got promoted, they still waiting. They still waiting. They waiting for their number to be pulled. It sucks. But if you've been through that, you know how it feels. So hopefully you won't make the same mistake. What it's also saying about this is key to a business survival. Grooming somebody to either replace you or to be just like you or even better. I'm going to leave you all with this. This is our last slide. Donald Trump said this. Well, I don't know if it's Donald Trump. Take that back. I'm going to leave y'all with this. Either hire people as good. No, it wasn't Donald. It was my old CEO. I apologize. Apologize for that. It was my old CEO. He always says this. He always hired people that was always better than him. Now, yes, he's the CEO. He said, I hire people that are better than me and that are smarter than me. He said, therefore, the company will always be innovative, and what I don't know, I can just reach out and grab what I just reach out and obtain the information. That is the life of a company is always to grow, always to be innovative. So yes, you all may be CEOs. You are CEOs of your own businesses. But one of the things that don't be afraid to hire somebody because you're still the CEO and they're still up under you. Don't be afraid to hire somebody because they have better skills than you. It is your business and your dream. You're not going to let them take it from you. And if anything, they can enhance your business to another level. That's what I want to leave you with.